coming out of that.
That's right.
But then again, we're also going to touch on minimum wage, which is where we'll begin this morning. Talking about the fact that the Nigeria Labour Congress, that's the NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, held a joint National Executive Council meeting in Abuja on Monday evening to reiterate their readiness, or rather the readiness of workers, to carry out a wide range of industrial action if the federal government fails to conclude the new minimum wage negotiations and provide a living wage for the country's workers by May the 31st. Labour also said it will be a huge mistake for the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to think that workers have gone to sleep after protesting and demanding for the reversal of the recently hiked electricity tariff. The NEC also accused government of employing delayed tactics in the new minimum wage negotiation process. Members of Organised Labour are scheduled to meet with representatives of the federal government later today to continue talks, negotiation talks. Recall that they had at some point said they were pulling out of this conversation, but the federal government, kind of would them back to the table to say, you know what, let's still have this conversation. It can't be deadlocked at this time. Mm-hmm. And so government doing that, for me, still shows that government is willing to negotiate. But they feel that government is employing delayed tactics, not being sincere or transparent enough, and all of it. And they also even went ahead to talk about some states that haven't implemented the 30,000 naira minimum wage, how they were going to deal with those states as well. And I'm wondering why it took them this long to now decide that this is the time they were going to see to it that states implement that. Because we have been talking about the viability of states to actually pay these monies that we are looking at. They are saying 615,000 naira. Government is saying 48,000. That's a huge disparity. So what are the indices for Labour arriving at that point? Because they're talking about living wage as it is. So what were the indices they looked at? How sustainable is even that 615,000 naira? Can states afford it as it is if they are still struggling with 30,000 naira minimum wage?
Yeah, these are the questions that are begging for answers. And it's just, basically what the labor union believe that this is what is due to them. This is what is, this is something very important to the minimum, the living wage. You recall that when the president, probably before the president came in, or I think when he came in, he said that the current minimum wage is, is not something that one can refer to as living wage, and so much so there is need for that wage to be reviewed. But coming out with 48,000 naira, it's a far cry. From 615,000 naira the labor. From
even the realities on the ground.
From the realities on the ground. If you look at the inflation trends, the price of goods and services, etc. So while some people believe that it is outrageous asking for 615,000 naira, others still see it as, no, come on, 48,000 naira. It doesn't really make that much any much different from what they currently earn. But the grants, do I call it grants? What's the word that they use? That 35,000 naira that they gave them for 3 months, just to add to their minimum wage. If they were able to pay that, in the course of 3 months, and
how
even
many
some
states were able to pay that? Not all the states were able to pay that.
Yeah.
Some states decided in their own wisdom to pay certain amounts. Some it was 10,000. They gave these persons at the time. Some other persons. We know Ogun State, we know Kwara State, Lagos State, increased these monies based on their capacity. And the question was, if these other states can do it, why are other states not doing it? What do they know that other states don't know? Yes, we know that each state has their peculiarities as it is. But then again, when we're talking about the welfare of workers, it's important that we take it seriously.
Very, very important.
As it is. But then I think that NLC has to be sincere with themselves.
Just like
615,000 naira. Is that possible at this point that we are as a country? Is it?
Looking at the fact that other states are still, defaulting from adjusting to the current minimum wage, which was long overdue to be reviewed. So another thing is for government to also be sincere with the workers. Well, they will say they are sincere because they know the indices, they know the metrics, and they know whether they will be able to pay it. But there are so many ways of generating revenues. Ask the state governments, what are they doing? And that's why others are also calling for restructuring. That let us have true federalism, so that there will be
resource control.
Resource control. We'll be able to manage whatever it is that we generate from our own localities. So with all of these things, I guess the middle ground they are pushing, from the other side is 100,000 naira, which the Labour is vehemently saying they are not going to accept, except that they, push it a notch higher. They'll be meeting today. Whatever it is that will be the decision, Nigerians are waiting. May 31st, that the Labour is pushing as a deadline before they do whatever they want to do. I feel they should find a middle ground and see, in reality, because if this minimum wage is pushed up, it will still definitely go ahead to affect the cost of prices of goods and services. Workers, traders will adjust their prices. So you are earning more now, so why don't you want to pay more for, this goods and all of that? So I guess the government at all levels should look at how can we help in reducing the cost of prices of goods and services. How can we help in reducing the inflationary, the inflation? How can we make life, easy for all Nigerians?
So that is one aspect that's one aspect I expect Labour to also take up as it is. What is their level of engagement with all of the persons in the sectors? Talk about transportation. How can we bit down the pricing of transportation such that people will not pay as much? A lot of Nigerians are investing a lot into this matter of transporting themselves across wherever it is they are going. And there's also the matter of food items. What's your engagement with Manufacturers Association of Nigeria? These are people who are under
the cost of a bag of rice now.
Yes. So what kind of engagement are you having with these persons, such that there is that sense of having a living wage? You are not spending so much, even though you are earning so little.
Yeah.
So it's important that we look at how we can strike a balance. We cannot have this. We cannot continue in this manner. Inflation is on the rise. Now the matter of even electricity tariff is also another major issue for Labour, as it is, saying that they are not backing down on it, and that the Regulatory Commission has to rethink the tariff increase as it is. How are we paying so much for electricity tariff? There are persons whose take-home salaries will have to be used to pay for electricity tariff. So what is left for them to spend for their house rents, for their children, their families, and every other things that they have to do? So it has to be a round table talk where we look at these matters transparently, in such a way that whatever the decision is at the end of the day,